Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stash Report from the Stash Project. This is our September compilation video for the new guys to the channel. Welcome as always. This video we do once a month, obviously, and it covers all of the expected releases for the month, this time September of 2017. So, we got out the old notebook of knowledge here, and let's read you some kits. We've got our usual suspects, let's put it that way. Nothing unusual in terms of companies we expect things from. Just the normal domestic and imports guys. So, jumping right into it, on the domestic side of things, you have Revell with 2 kits for the month of September, and they are going to be the Danica Patrick Ford Fusion. This will essentially be the exact same kit that just came out, 2 months ago, basically, back in July, for the Kevin Harvick Ford Fusion. This is the new tool, all glue, full detail kit, just with the Danica Patrick livery instead of Kevin Harvick. And then the other kit will be the 1970 Dodge Charger RT. This is a modified reissue of Dom's Charger from the Fast and the Furious. The kits are, while sort of based on the 68-69 Charger, are all new tooling in the sense that the Dom's Charger was a completely new tool. It doesn't readily share any parts with the 68 and 69. This 70 RT is obviously a street version of the Dom's Charger, so it'll have the correct, rear end, as opposed to the movie car, which did not have a 70 RT rear end to it. It'll have the factory stock interior and things like that. It does have a Hemi rather than a 440 or a 383 or something like that. A lot of people have sort of moaned and complained about that. My solution to that, of course, is the fact that, well, you can get a Hemi, or not a Hemi, but you can get a 440 or a 383 out of a number of different model kits. There is, however, no viable 1970 Dodge Charger available. You either have to go pay an arm and a leg for an MPC annual or an arm and a leg for an out-of-production missing link resin kit. So, yeah, I'll take the $20 kit and figure out my own engine option if I really care that much, which, P.S. I don't. Hemi, 440, whatever, doesn't matter to me. Just happy to have a factory stock 70 Charger to go with the 68 and the 69. From round 2, 2 kits for the month of September, unless a few things get bumped up. As it stands right now, the 2 expected September kits are the 59 Chevy El Camino. This is the venerable 59 El Camino. It's been reissued a gajillion times back in to infinity and beyond, as it were. This is going to come in an original Art Series box, which of course is the much larger box that has the suitable for framing print inside of the box art. But other than that, the contents of the kit, there's nothing about it that's changed. It is the exact same 59 El Camino that has been, like I said, reissued a bajillion times. The other kit for round 2, sort of a more interesting kit. This one hasn't been reissued for quite a while. I'm trying to think if it actually had an AMT Ertl reissue. I believe it had one reissue somewhere since its original tooling, and that is the AMT 1983 Camaro Z28. Okay, it's an 83 Camaro Z28, which wasn't exactly like going to stand on its head and perform very well. Right in that emissions era, insurance era, gas guzzling era that nobody, really wanted to deal with a car. I think, I'm not even sure. Well, I'd have to look. Could you get a 83 Camaro with a 350, or was that just a 305? But at any rate, the difference with this kit and why I want to go, to delve past the words there is the fact that AMT and MPC both had Camaro kits, as you may recall if you're my age. The MPC kit is what kept going and being updated over and over and over again. It was also the same tooling that AMT Ertl then used to continue the annual Camaro kits, and is currently parked as, I believe, a 92 Heritage Edition, 93 Heritage Edition Camaro. The 83 Camaro is an AMT kit. That was the last year that kit was done. That kit has a solid roof. It does not have the T-tops that the MPC kit always had through all the years. So it hasn't been seen in a while, just because it was not the kit that kept going all those years. I think there was one time the 83 Camaro might have been reissued during the RC2 era. I seem to recall a boxing in there in my memory, but it's not something that has been out a lot. just because the other tooling was the one that was always modified into the new car, and that's the kit that there are, 1984 through 1993 annual, every year that kit got updated. So something to look for. If you're into the 80s car, go with your 442 G body Cutlass and things like that. Overseas, Ibra just announced this morning that they're going to reissue the Citroen HY Mobile Kitchen. So that kit sold out. Not a big surprise there, because that was very not niche, but a very interesting use of that tooling rather than just being a commercial van. We are expecting this month, hopefully, it's a licensing issue at this point, the Hobby Nunu, or Nunu Hobby, BMW M6 GT3. I know, every month I say it's coming out, and then every month it gets delayed. Right now, the time period is the end of September. Like I said, it's all a licensing issue with BMW at this point. So it is sort of the downside, if you will, of these new sort of pop-up Chinese, Hong Kong-based model manufacturers. It's very easy for these people to do military kits, which is why there are so many Hong Kong-based, Chinese-based military manufacturers, because there's no licensing to pay for, technically speaking. I mean, I suppose if you made certain airplanes that are new enough, McDonnell Douglas or somebody might come after you for it, but World War II tanks and things like that, I don't think Porsche is necessarily coming after anybody for a tank. So we saw this with B-Max's M3, had a little bit of more of a delay than was expected. The B-Max Chevy Cruze had a year-long delay trying to deal with GM's licensing. There seems to be some sort of weird little thing that goes on where they're getting approval to make these kits and then doing them and then worrying about the licensing, because I certainly don't assume you would put in $250,000, $500,000 into tooling just to hope that somebody approves it on the other side. But it definitely seems like there is some disconnect between the, oh yeah, go ahead and do this project, and this project hits the market, because this is now the third or fourth of these sort of new companies having issues with their licensing. But hopefully they'll get that straightened out and get it out, if nothing else, by November, so that you have something to build with your Mercedes SLS, or not SLS, but Mercedes AMG GT3 kits that Tamiya will be doing. So be that as it may, once again we throw that onto the pile. Stuff that we figure will come out more readily. Fujimi is going to be reissuing their Isuzu Piazza XE. This is the sort of non-anime version of a kit that they just did a few months ago in that anime series. I'm trying to see if I can page through the Yoroshika Mega Dock. They reissued it that way. Now we're going to get a reissue just as a factory stock car. They're going to be reissuing their Nissan Skyline 2000 GT 54A and B. Technically, that's not a Nissan. Technically, that is a Prince Skyline. That is the second-gen Skyline, going all the way back into the early 1960s. I have them both back here someplace. They would be behind my head right now. They're right above the plastic bag. Those are two separate kits in the day. As you see, I have two of them. So they're going to be combining them into one. Pretty much the only difference between the two is the lettering and on the decal sheet between 54A and 54B. The 54B was created primarily as a race vehicle, or the 54A was. I can't remember which one without looking at it. Ugh, should have wrote it down. But both of them were obviously done as street cars as well. And also this month we'll be getting that Nissan March fire and EMS vehicle. Basically their existing kit that they're adding a few pieces of emergency equipment to. And it's basically a fly car for EMS, being the this is something that is a European idea that has become more and more popular here in the United States, where you'll see a Tahoe, a Suburban, a police vehicle. Like there's several EMS guys around here who use Chargers and Crown Vics. the Pittsburgh paramedics division actually has motorcycles, Harley Davidson motorcycles. Basically, they're paramedics that can get there faster than the actual ambulance because they're not tied up in patient transport. The motorcycles here in Pittsburgh are used for events because you can get a motorcycle through a lot of places you obviously can't get an ambulance to readily and easily. So that's what that is. It's not going to be an exact replica of the vehicle because the disclaimer from Fujimi says something about it being an existing kit. So they're not modifying the tooling to make it an exact match. They're just going to use the decals that are on the actual car. Take that for what it's worth. Hasegawa has several things coming out this month. They're a reissue of the BMW 320i, something I've been seeing since the mid-1990s. Reissue of the Lancia Delta FH Integral Evolution. This is the street car, not a rally car. This is the factory stock street car. Obviously, it is the homogenization street car for the rally car, but this is a actual road car. Reissue of the Toyota 88C with the Taka Q livery. Reissue of the Mazda 767 with the Charge livery. Reissue of their Toyota Celica Turbo 4-wheel drive rally car in the 1993 Safari Rally livery. Reissue of their Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 4 in the 1997 Catalonia Rally livery. Reissue of the Porsche 944 Turbo Racing. That is the Porsche 944 Cup, which is obviously a make-specific racing series. And then a reissue of the Corolla 11 AE101 race car in the Advan livery. So many race car reissues there, all of them existing tooling, all of them being cars that have been done in the past, are just making some reissues. Over at Aoshima, we have on the straight stock refills the reissue of the reissue of the 2015 Toyota Crown Athlete, reissue of their Lamborghini Countach LP400, reissue of their Lamborghini Aventador Roadster, and a reissue of the Initial D Nissan R32 GTR Combat version. That is the one that was done the end of 2015 as a mild tooling reissue. Goes with an RX-7 kit as well, as the two of them were in a combat in a hill race. The whole Initial D series all about hill racing. And then on the reissue side of things, because none of these are, well, actually, there's one of these is sort of newer than the other, but most of this is just stuff that's being recategorized into the model car and the tuned model car lineup. The model car gets a reissue of the 81 Nissan Skyline GTES. I believe there are a couple of pieces here, much like the other Skylines, where the front and rear fascias are being updated to make this an 81 from it being a different kit. I think it's an 82 as it stands. They're also going to reissue their Nissan Gloria Cedric 430. This is basically the late 70s Nissan Gloria and Cedric. These were separate kits in the past. Best car vintage, so they're not the greatest chassis interior things, but they're combining the two into one kit this time. The difference will, of course, be grills and taillights and things like that, the way that the 330 Cedric are. I should say the 430 Cedric is actually a mid-80s version. The 330 is what I was thinking of, it's the 70s, but there's going to be new grills tooled up for these. The grills that were in the existing kits, not the greatest thing on the face of the planet, and I believe there's going to be new factory stock wheel covers tooled up for this as well. On the model car side, tuned model car side of things, they're going to be reissuing their Honda Beat RS Mach and their Mola Sport Suzuki Cappuccino. Both of those existing kits that have been reissued a fair few times over the last 5 years at least. So nothing new expected with those, just reissue. 14-inch wheels, reissue of the Heart 5-lug, the Shadow 5-lug, the Mark 1 and the Star 5-lug. Differences there. Most of these little 14-inch wheels that they've been doing are 4 lugs. So having 5-lug wheels, a little different. Same principle though. Tiny wheels, big lollipop tires, for all of your stance and slambering needs. They're going to be reissuing their 83 Toyota Truno AE86 as a black and white and a red and white pre-paint. Or I said red and white. Red and black. So that's your white Panda and your red Panda, as they're colloquially known. Those kits will not have engines. So they'll be straight curbsides. But like I said, pre-paint kits. We've talked about this every time that Aoshima does a pre-paint. They're completely and totally painted, all the parts, not just the body like a Revell kit, but the chassis and everything. However, of course, much like every other pre-paint, it's got the situation where they're pre-painting over the mold lines. They're not taking the mold lines off. So Aoshima's mold lines on some kits are better than others. The new stuff versus the old stuff. These Trunos were kind of, they're not old, but they're 90s, 2000s compared to like the 2015 Crown, Athlete and Crown Royal that they're going to be doing, that they, well, actually should say they did for the month of August, where those are brand new body tools, and they're not, the mold lines aren't nearly as bad on them. And then the one new kit, if you will, for the month of September that is a modified reissue, but it's something that has never been done before, is the Nissan R35. Because really, technically, the new GTR is just the Nissan GTR. There's not really an R35 logo to it, but everybody calls it that. And that's to be the Liberty Walk version of that, which is, of course, going to have all the big over fenders added, and the new wheels and tires and valances and splitters and all the stuff that goes along with the Liberty Walk, look. And the box art for this came out yesterday, so this will be a release for September. I know a lot of people are waiting on that and hoping that they will do further things. They have the Aventador and the Murcielago, which are both other cars that Liberty Walk has done. Obviously, those were not announced for the end of the year. We'll go over all of the end of the year stuff for Japan in another video. But there's your hint. There's no Liberty Walk, Aventador, or Murcielago for the end of 2017. But hopefully this is the start of something more modern. They've done all of the vintage Skylines and Laurels and everything. Hopefully they'll skew a little bit more towards the newer cars. So anyway, guys, that about wraps it up for the month of September. Now you know how you're going to spend your money, and we'll see you guys on the other side.